Friends, I want to direct our attention this morning back to that first reading, because we're continuing with this reflections that we're getting from St. John, the theologian, St. John, the apostle, John the evangelist, and he's talking to us, he's continuing to talk about the implications of God's nature. So he had spelled out that God is love, and now he's unfolding more and more what that implies, what that means. He says this, "Beloved, if God so loved us, we also must love one another." If God so loved us, we also must love one another. That's the call, that's the implication. For us to be first astounded that we're the recipients of his love that came to us first. And having seen what it is that God did when he chose to love us when we were still yet sinners, when we were still yet in rebellion, when you see that, your heart is meant to be moved to see everyone else around you as worthy of the same kind of love. Like, we're called to love who he loves, which is every person. That's what we're called to. And that is the thing that changed the world. It wasn't strategic plans that moved Christianity from the tiny little seed it was in Jerusalem to become this thing that overran the Roman Empire by the year 325. It wasn't because these guys thought strategically, all right, you go here and you go here, and then we're going to do this. And it was the incredible, absurd witness of their lives, and most especially the witness of the nature of their love. That was the thing that was said about the Christians. Look how they love one another. The love that they were witnessing was a kind of thing that didn't exist in the world until Christians started showing up. There was no sense of that. There was no agape. There was no self-giving love. It just wasn't a thing. No one took care of the widows and the orphans. No one took care or cared about the sick or the indigent or the poor. No one extended themselves to people who weren't directly related to them. The way that Christians lived and loved, it flipped the world upside down. It flipped the world upside down. And we're called to be the same. We're called to do the same. Our parish is meant to be a little embassy of that. St. Paul says that we are ambassadors of Christ. We bear the authority of the kingdom of heaven, and our parish is meant to be a place, a little outpost where people can feel and experience what heaven feels like and what heaven tastes like and smells like. And people are meant to come here and if for the first time, they're meant to walk away and say, man, look how they love each other. Do you think people say that? Do you think people feel that? Do you think we extend ourselves in such a way, not just in the very beginning of Mass where it's welcome to St. Luke's, welcome to St. Clement's, welcome to St. James, turn and greet the people around you. It's a very lovely thing that we do, but what else do we do? What else do we do? Do we feel like heaven here? And look, love is not just simply agreeing with or tolerating the differences that we have amongst each other. That's what the world would have us believe, that to love someone is you just tolerate them. You allow them to be them and they do them. That's not love. It's not loving to allow someone to persist in a lie. It's not loving to allow someone to persist in a falsehood. It's not loving to allow someone to persist in self-destruction. Love is objective because it's Christ. It's rooted in the truth. Love, if it's going to be truly loving and not mere sentimentality, it has to be rooted in the truth. And Jesus is the truth. To love means that I not only will the good of you as the other, your highest good, your highest flourishing, but love also says, I want union with you, communion with you. I want to be with you for eternity. I want to be with you in heaven. And look, friends, Jesus, he specified the love that we're called to in a very dramatic, very particular way that I think is so extraordinarily challenging. This gets back to what John is telling us, that we're called to love one another. Jesus commanded us to love our enemies. To love our enemies. And that is hard. That is so hard. I was thinking about that before going to bed last night. Just that thought of love of enemies and just how hard that is. And it was like I heard this voice like sitting next to me. I don't know if it was St. Joseph or Mary or Jesus. I don't know who it was, but I just felt this voice saying to me, yeah, but do you want, really, Patrick, do you want a soft, easy religion that demands nothing of you? Like, no. I want something that calls me to the heights, that calls me to the depths, that calls me to arise, that calls me and challenges me. Like, what if our faith just said, love the people you really like? I'm like, all right, sign me up. Where do I put my envelope? No, Jesus says, love your enemies. Love your enemies. There are people in your world, and I don't just mean the world, I mean your world. Like your little immediate sphere, people you're going to probably bump into today. Maybe there are people sitting next to you in the pews. I don't know. But there are people in your world that are very challenging for you to love. Some of you are like, what? Here's what I'm asking you to do. At the very least, be resolved today to begin praying for and interceding for them. Like, place them upon the altar today during the offertory. Jesus, I lay this person before you, and I beg you to bless them, to heal them, to fill them. I beg you to surround them with people who will reveal your love to them. Let's start there. This call to love one another. Amen.